This is Ichsan, Indonesia's FIFAe World Cup featuring Football Manager champion. During the first ever FIFAe World Cup featuring Football Manager in Liverpool in 2024, Ichsan developed a tactic that smashed through everyone and everything in his way to take him to the title. But let's see how good this tactic really is. In today's video, I'm going to take over Sporting Lisbon, just like Ichsan did in the World Cup, and using only his tactics, see if I can emulate his first season in charge for the club. Now, it's going to be tough because he won every single trophy possible. And for some reason, I'm making it even harder and not signing any players. So Josh, what is this tactic you speak of, I hear you ask? Well, it's a 4-2-3-1 gegenpress. Of course it is. But wait, there's so much more to it than something that me or you would put together. Well, definitely me. I mean, you might be a genius. Let's take a deep dive and have a look. Most of it is from controlling the wide areas. You'll see that both inside forwards are on support, but that's only just the start of how these inside forwards play. When the team has the ball, they are instructed to stay wider and get further forwards, and then when they have the ball themselves, they need to hold it up and drive inside. What this does is allow the fullbacks more space and also time to join the attack. And once they are there, they create overloads in the wide areas. If we then turn our attention to these fullbacks and attack on both sides, you can see their instructions are fairly similar as well, but they are encouraged to cross from the byline and take more risks with passes. So these are the two that are mostly going to be feeding your advanced forward in this tactic. And a lot of this might just make sense, but one thing I find brilliant, the fact that they cross from the byline means that your eager advanced forward who spends 90% of the time offside can't be. He can't get in front of the ball, but he can get across his front man and score from 4 yards out. And we've got Victor Gyökeres, so we are going to be scoring a lot of goals. But this all sounds great if you're attacking and scoring goals, but what about if you lose the ball in those areas? Well, Ichsan's thought of that, don't worry. Both inside forwards are set to mark their opposing fullback, which means that it's almost impossible for the opposition team to create overloads themselves, because once they start to attack, our inside forwards lock onto their fullbacks, track them all the way back, and then our fullbacks are there as well to defend, and it's a 2-on-2. And then when opposition teams get in those wide areas, Ichsan's got his team set to invite crosses, because he has so much faith in the 4 central players to deal with that. You have 2 defensive midfielders, one who's the more destructive type to break up play, and the other who's there to dictate tempo and start to feed those wider players with longer passes. The 2 centre-backs are 2 ball-playing defenders. 2 of them feels weird, right? But to make it even more strange, they've both got the extra instruction of dribble more. But it works. Of course it does. He's world champion. When the 2 central defenders win the ball and have time and space to bring it down, they dribble out from their position, then creating a central overload and are able to start attacks from there. It's just overloads. Overloads are king. The 2 positions we haven't really spoke about, the advanced forward, who is obviously there just to score the goals, and the number 10 position in behind. Now, what I saw Ichsan do a lot in the World Cup is use that number 10 as a really free roaming role. So if the ball is in a wide area, you'll often see this number 10 peel off to the edge of the box to create even more of an overload on one side. Or if Ichsan was struggling to break a team down or looking for an extra goal, this 4-2-3-1 would often become a 4-2-4, with that number 10 becoming a second striker, often as a complete forward. Now, obviously, with every gegenpress tactic, you can see that this is a high-pressing team that like to score goals and play on the front foot. But to make that even more intense, every single player has the instruction of tackle harder, and the whole team instruction is to get stuck in. It's mad, but it's beautifully mad. You're probably going to take a few yellow cards, probably going to take a few red cards, but if you win the ball in dangerous areas, you punish mistakes, you score goals, and you do it relentlessly. Honestly, it's just beautiful. This is the Sporting side that Ichsan would have started with from the base game of FM24, and you can see there are some really good players in there. Victor Gyökeres, of course, an absolute powerhouse in Football Manager. Pedro Goncalves behind him in the number 10. You have so much centre-back talent in the 3 that we have. Ignacio Diamande, Sebastian Coates, who's going to score goals for fun, because of course, along with the Ichsan tactic, we have to make the most of set pieces. They are so important in Football Manager, so important in football, and so important if you want to win the World Cup. So the starting 11 of this team is actually pretty good. I'm not so sure the squad is. If I was allowing myself to make transfers, I would definitely be looking at another striker, because we have Paulinho as a backup to Gyökeres, but nobody else. So if we're going to end up playing that 4-2-4 at times, if it all goes wrong, we haven't got much to work with. As well as that, I'd look to bring in some reinforcements in the attacking trio behind the advanced forward. Marcus Edwards is good, Trincao is good, Nuno Santos is also a good option. But again, we're going to be fighting on so many fronts this season, and an extra player or 2 wouldn't go amiss in there. If we get a few injuries, we could be in trouble. So with the tactic locked in and the squad just about capable, let's see how we get on. Our season started pretty well. 5 games played, 5 wins, scoring goals for fun. And I knew that in order to match Ichsan's success, we had to be ruthless against the teams that we definitely should be. We played Morense in game 6, and I did start to get a little bit shaky. I don't get nervous. The score was level after 90 minutes, but in the 92nd minute, we grabbed the second to go 2-1 ahead and took the... What? We can see it again. Okay, good. Yeah, we dropped points to Morenz. So still gone brilliantly, but not to worry. We bounced back with a thumping 6-0 victory. So normal procedure resumed. Don't worry, everybody. I'd love to say that, but in game 8, again, we dropped points. So what is normal procedure nowadays? After 8 games, we find ourselves 1 point behind Porto in the league. But there's a lot of football to be played. Don't worry, everybody. Don't panic. There's a lot of football to be played. Ichsan, I'm coming for your title. He's not worried, is he? A 9-game winning run followed, showing just how brilliant this tactic is. Scoring goals for fun. Set pieces were flying in left, right, and centre. Sebastian Coates even managed to score a hat-trick of headers in 1 half. I love this game. The average position stupidly high up the pitch. Gyökeres far and away the top goal scorer. Our team outscoring the whole league. But then things started to get serious with a massive 4-game run. Porto, Benfica, and Braga in the league. I feel like the fixture computer has had me there. And then Liverpool to come in the Europa League. Again, how have I drawn Liverpool in the Europa League? Not had much luck here, have we? But to be honest, I wasn't worried. This tactic had shown in the last 9 games how brilliant it was. And it carried on doing exactly that. A 3-0 win against Porto. And we had a completely unfit team because I forgot to rest them or rotate in previous games. So at this point, I was feeling pretty confident. Back top of the league, where we belong. And then Benfica wiped the floor with us. I was in utter disbelief. And I feel like Football Manager has its way of doing this, where you are so on top of everybody, and then all of a sudden, inexplicably, a team turns up and just rolls you over. And this is what happened. We could not get out against Benfica. We didn't create any chances. As I said about the average positions earlier, they were really low. It looked like and felt like Benfica had played our own game against us. They played a 4-4-2, wingers who are out wide, a Roman playmaker in the middle. I think the 2 strikers caused us problems, Marcus Leonardo especially. So yeah, we were top of the league for about 3 days. So that's good, isn't it? I started to worry further when we played Braga and Nuno Santos got sent off after 33 minutes. This tactic really showing the bad parts about it right now. But not to worry, 4-1 win, back to winning ways. And then Zinedine Zidane brought his Liverpool side and we battled out a 2-2 draw. We drew with them 0-0 earlier in the group stage, and this is how the group table finished. So we topped the group heading into the round of 16. Feeling quite confident about the Europa League as well. We'll see how long that lasts. The team and tactic were flying as we headed into January as the transfer window opened. Again, we weren't going to sign any players, and then boom, double striker injury. This is a problem. But I kept my word. We weren't signing any players, so we had to play games without a fit striker. I think you might know what's about to happen. You guessed it. Needless drop points against teams that we are far better than. 4 points adrift in the league, and our title dream starting to fade. But we weren't going to give up just yet. Luckily, Gyökeres was back fit for Porto to come to town in the League Cup semi-final, and he scored twice to put us within 90 minutes of our first trophy this season. The final came soon after, and this goal right here was enough to secure us the Portuguese League Cup. So 1 trophy on the board. How many more can we pick up? We then continued to form in the rest of the competitions and went on a 14-game winning run. This includes a massive Europa League round of 16 win away to Union Berlin, where we beat them 5-0. In the league, these wins meant we had gained on Porto and again found ourselves top of the league with 8 games to go. All we had to do was hold our nerve, not drop any silly points, but we did have to play Porto. If we make sure we don't lose that game, we will have 1 hand on the trophy. Unfortunately for us, the fixture computer again has managed to make the Porto game in a Europa League sandwich. Bayer Leverkusen up next after we dispatch Union Berlin. So we'll have another trip to Germany, and this one was going to be a little bit more difficult. The first leg started well. We went ahead even though we were under the cosh, but the German team fought back to take a 2-1 lead. We had it all to do in this second leg to reach the semi-finals, but we had to park that thought for a second because the Porto game was upon us. Now, because of the Europa League and the lack of squad depth, we couldn't really rotate before this game, so we weren't in tip-top condition. It sounds like an excuse, but it wasn't, and we went ahead after 6 minutes. Marcus Edwards getting himself on the score sheet, and to be honest, this is maybe the best game I've seen us play without scoring many goals. Evan Nilsson responded fairly soon for Porto, and the score was 1-1 for a large part of the game. And as I said, we knew that if we could just keep it 1-1 or even sneak another goal, just make sure we don't lose, we would have 1 hand on the league title. And we absolutely peppered the Porto goal. We created so many chances. Gyökeres at the near post managed to pull one past the far post from about 2 yards out. I could not believe that we hadn't scored again. And when things like that happen in this lovely game called Football Manager, we all knew that Porto were going to get 1 chance. And of course, they scored it. Porto took the 3 points and we're top of the league again. And I was gutted. It was one of these games where you really can't fault anything that the team did, anything that the tactic did, anything that I did. Like, we played really well. We just couldn't get it over the line. Maybe it was just one game too far with us fighting for the Europa League as well. Anyway, again, no time to waste on that. We hopped on a plane, went over to Germany to play against Bayer Leverkusen in the second leg, knowing we were 2-1 down and we had to push to get through. Victor Gyökeres, surprise, scored again to put us ahead and level 2-2 on aggregate. But it didn't take long for Leverkusen and Onyeka to hit back only 10 minutes later, meaning 3-2 on aggregate. We had to push. We switched to the 4-2-4, and it was then when Leverkusen punished us again. 4-2 on aggregate. We fought back again. Sebastian Coates scoring a header late on, but it wasn't enough to spark a comeback. Out of the Europa League, behind again in the league. It's been an awful week for our sporting side. The rest of our league season was absolutely flawless, winning every game, so we gave ourselves a chance heading into the final day, hoping that Porto would finally drop points. But of course they didn't, and we managed to finish second. And actually, it's quite impressive that we managed to finish second. I can't believe we haven't won this league. A record number of wins for the Sporting Lisbon side, the highest points total recorded for a Sporting team, 119 league goals. It's actually so impressive. If we compare this league table to Ichsan's first season, you can see that his side amassed 93 points, us 87, but second place in his league got 80 points. 87 points for us. We'd have won the league by 7 points. But not all was lost. We had a cup final to play. We'd made it all the way to the Taça de Portugal final, where we will play Porto. Who will get the last laugh? We scored after the first minute and went on to score 4 more. 5-0 in the final. Maybe they've been out celebrating since they won the league. We take home both domestic cup competitions, which isn't too bad, but absolutely no match for Ichsan. Ichsan turned Sporting Lisbon into world beaters. We turned them into the most entertaining runners-up in Portuguese history. Close, but no crown. Ichsan stays king for now. I think it's all because of who he signed.